Right, so I want to share my experience of building and setting up this guitar. This is something that I did in the last 3 months or so in my time, spare time. And the goal was to learn to refret. I've always maintained my guitars in terms of the setup, like the basic setup and electronics, but I always wanted to learn how to sort out stuff like woods and hardware because I didn't have much experience in that. And also, I had quite a few refrets in the last few years, or at least since I've been playing, really. A fair few refrets, and I've never been, I've had mixed experiences with that. And I have to say, not for the fact that the people that I use were not able, but I feel that the refrets, the frets and the action and stuff is quite subjective. A blues player might have a completely different setup to let's say, a shredder, so to speak. Okay, so the idea here was to buy a few things on eBay that were faulty or damaged and to learn how to repair them. And the first thing I did, I bought a neck, which was like an old Aria neck. And I will share the cost of all this and what I think the result, if the results are playable or not. So this was an Aria neck, and it changed completely the shape of the headstock. And there was no nut. There was a chunk missing here in the top by the rosewood bit of the fretboard, and I patched it with some other wood and glued it, and you can barely see it really now. So I saw just recently a video by Tom Bukovac. Obviously, I watched a lot of videos to do with setup and refrets and stuff like that. I learned all of this on YouTube and by asking to people that I know how to do these things, basically. And there's a lot of talk about the shape and the nut, and I totally agree. I've owned quite a few Gibson guitars, and I have a 335 now, and none of them had issues with tuning because if you know how to shape the nut, how to clear the grooves, and how to make sure that nothing gets stuck, how to make sure that only half the string pops up. And there's a great video by Stuart McDonald how to shape the grooves, so to speak. This is a bone nut. I made it from a blank. I bought a bunch from one of those Chinese direct eBay sellers, and there's a little bit to do with the break angle volumes, mostly to do with how to shape the grooves in the nut. So I feel that most of the sound comes from where the string touches the guitar, basically, the bridge, the nut, and the tuning pegs. There's another thing that I kind of disagree on the mainstream idea, and I don't know if it's just me. Like a lot of the times, luthier tend to put that the string in with lots of windings, and I always prefer the Gibson knot. When you go under the string and then you pull the string above, and then you create basically a knot within that. The string catches while you're tuning it, basically. And doing that, there are a lot less windings, and I know it's more difficult to get it off the tuning peg, but I prefer it that way. It seems to have the stability of the tuning seems to be better for me, just purely my experience. I don't know if you have other experience, and I know that a lot of people like the lock-in tuners just because of the fact that you don't have there are no windings, basically. Okay, that's the idea. So that's my experience. I always do it that way, and I will stick with that against the mainstream idea. But again, that's my experience. So one thing I had to change, because obviously the body was bare wood and the routing was slightly wrong. I learned how the alignment of the bridge works with the alignment of the neck pocket and the whole alignment of the guitar, basically. And that's quite a good thing to know, because a lot of the time, even like I've seen even custom shop Fenders having like misaligned necks and bridges and stuff like that, where you can see that the edge of the string is quite off, so to speak, like both edges of the E strings are quite off. So that was a good thing to learn, just in case I find a guitar that I like, but it's misaligned, which happens more often than you think. This is a stop hill bridge. The routing wasn't quite correct, so I tried to use first a regular tele bridge, with a big plate, but it didn't quite work. And then I preferred to use this style of bridge, which is a top loader. There are no ferrules on the back or holes. So another thing, because to me, I'm a musician, I'm a performer, so only occasionally the look of the guitar is important. Let's say if I did a jazz gig in a posh hotel, they want to see somebody with a tuxedo and a nice looking jazz guitar. But in general, it's more about the playability. So if I can bring a Strat that I'm used to playing and I feel that I can play everything with, I will bring that. But that's why I wanted to get to the point where I know every possible, I have control of every element of action, and every possible element of the guitar setup. So and again, as I said, nothing wrong with collectors, and if you like to have those super shiny PRS that have very highly figured woods in the top. I don't think, again, I'm going to be quite going against the grain here, but no pun intended. But it's those beautiful looking guitars that have, and this luthier talk about wood a lot. To me, that's more to do. Maybe in an acoustic guitar, you can hear a bit of the difference in the wood, and if you're talking about mass, like a guitar that has more mass, but then again, not necessarily. I tried Les Pauls that were quite heavy and had like chunky bridges that have a lot of sustain. But then I've tried super light guitars. This is like almost like a pine type type wood body, I meant. And it has quite a bit of sustain. And a lot of it is to do with the setup, okay? So, and the height of the pickups, stuff like that, okay? So I'm going to share how much I paid for these things. This is super cheap. You're not going to believe some of these things. So I already had the knobs, and I already had the the switch, and the leads, the electronic stuff. I already had that, and I had obviously the jack plate, and these whatever you call it, strap blocks or strap pins. So the body I bought on eBay, bare wood, had the binding for about £40. And again, at the time I'm recording this video, I'd say that a pound is about $1.20. So let's just call it 1-to-1. And so just to give you an idea of the cost, the neck was damaged, and it was an old area neck, and it was about, I think, £25 shipped. The tuning pegs were about £10, and I, took them apart, and I made them, I serviced them. Basically, they work really well now. I already had that guide there, which was good. The scratch plate was about £6 or £7. The two pickups now, this pickup I think is an Epiphone. I bought it on eBay for about £12, just to have a full guitar basically. And it doesn't sound too bad as you heard in that demo, but this is the true surprise. Like, this is an Amazon pickup that I bought for £16 new, and it must be some kind of like Hot Rails copy. It sounds great. It sounds great. And again, £16, crazy. So I'd say, and the bridge, again, as I said, about £7 on eBay. I bought the other one, it was about 10, like but that didn't work. And that's pretty much it, really. I bought the stains, obviously, because I wanted to finish it. First, it was gold top, the guitar. I tried first gold top with rattle cans, and to do like acrylic top finish, like a varnish. Didn't really like it, so I took that off. And so I stained it. The stain was about £12. And this other stain was a bit cheaper. It was about £6 or £7. Was like I wanted to give it that kind of Les Paul, different colors, for the top and the back. But the wood is the same. This is one piece, so, well, multiple pieces, but one type of wood. And then I tried first boiled linseed oil, which didn't quite work because I'm quite impatient, and that requires months. I'm pretty sure they would have a lovely finish with that, but it requires months for that to dry and really thin coats. So I did True Oil, and that's phenomenal. Really, really easy to put, to apply. And I think I did about 6 or 7 coats, and within 3 days that was dry. I'm pretty sure I could probably leave it for a week or so, but it feels dry enough to gig, to be honest. And I kind of reshaped the headstock, a mix between the John Sewer and like the Friedman, that have slightly different color elements there. Again, I bought a few bits. I think the only one that was kind of important was that the thread nipper, like to cut the edges of the fretboard, the frets, not the fretboard, obviously. But in general, I found actually fretting quite simple. Surprisingly, after a bit of a, just one thread that I didn't manage to remove, it was really the first one that I had. I found a technique that was quite easy, and I found it quite easy to do. I already have some files, so I did that quite quickly. What's difficult, definitely the nut from a blank to shape the nut. That's difficult. Took me a while. The first one I made, I bought one, didn't quite fit. Then the other one, the second one didn't quite do it properly, and then the third one was the one that I used. So that one, about an afternoon, I managed to do it. I don't have any tools like a bell sander or stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that would have been much easier to do. But I have some cheap files, and that did the job. So again, it was to just learn some more skills and show that really for playability. As I always said, um, I always prefer a cheap guitar that is well set up, as much as probably to gig. I could probably gig with this guitar, but purely for aesthetics, I would want to refinish it properly with grain filler and stuff like that. So maybe I will have another step before I get it to gigs. But in terms of the playability, for me as a performer, is way more important than the looks of the guitar. And the money. If you want a good sounding guitar, I always prefer the cheaper guitar that plays well to an expensive guitar that doesn't. As a matter of fact, I had a top NPRS at some point, like a 10 top, and I ended up selling it because I wasn't getting on with it as much as it was well set up. I just maybe the pickups or something like that. But very, very stable guitar, but I didn't really get on with that in terms of like the sound, so to speak, and I didn't want to start changing pickups. I had spent enough on that guitar. Um, but that's it really. I wanted to share my experience with this and give a few tips with things that you, again, these things are quite cheap to put together. The tools, you can get them quite cheaply from like things like eBay and Amazon. Now you can get stuff direct from China. Some of the stuff in terms of knowledge, I've used local shops like the Stains and stuff like that. I bought these from local shops. So a bit of a mixed bag, but definitely if you want a well-played instrument, uh, I would strongly suggest for you to spend a little bit of time in your spare time to learn these skills, because to me, it makes a difference between enjoying playing the guitar to struggling and fighting the instrument, and having an instrument that doesn't stay in tune and stuff like that, where it's to do with the setup, not necessarily. Most of the times there might be some extreme cases, but yeah. So I wanted to get more in depth with that, and again, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to share it on social media. Add some comments if you feel that you want to add something to the knowledge of building and setting things up, things that you've learned while you were setting up instruments or buying partscasters and stuff like that. All is welcome if in polite English. And again, if you want to check the links, if you want to support the channel, I might actually add a link for this pickup to Amazon. Will be an affiliate link if it's in the description in a pinned comment. That's about it really. Again, take care. Bye bye.